106.9 FM.
Good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of the Roundtable. My name is Major Daniels. The Nigerian National Assembly decided to make the issue of the rising insecurity in the country its agenda last Wednesday. At some point during the plenary, it almost degenerated into a back and forth. This was because the minority leader, a member of the PDP, Inaya Abaribe, and the former deputy governor of Abia State, called for the resignation of President Muhammadu Buhari because, according to him, he said, when there's a problem anywhere, you go to the head. He said it that way, and that the head should be responsible. Let's quickly listen to the excerpt of the submission of the minority leader of the Senate.
I would have called out the presidential spokesman, Femi Adesina, who, when the CAN leaders complained about the killing of a priest, he turned around and said that the CAN was acting like a political party. Now that we are talking about it here, let me hear him say that all of us are acting like a political party. When somebody is complaining about these incessant deaths in this country, this is a matter of life and death. All the time that we wasted in Nigeria trying to find all these excuses for non-performance has now come to stare us in the face. Reality is no respecter of persons. And it is the reality that we are facing now. Senator Sani Musa shouting every day that his people were being killed in Niger. We just took one from Jos, a student who was murdered by a Boko Haram person in full view of everybody with a pistol. And the Boko Haram person was somebody that was more, almost, he's not up to 9 years or 10 years old. And we are told that they have been defeated. Now, to go to the fact of what do we do? Mr. President, we have heard from the newspapers today where you have said and suggested, and they are quoting you to say, oh, well, we were going to call the IG, we are going to talk about the community policing, we are going on that way. Mr. President, Nigeria did not elect the IG. We did not elect the chief of staff. We did not elect the joint chiefs. We did not elect the national security advisor. We elected the government of APC in 2015 and re-elected them in 2019. The reason why we re-elected them was that they continued to tell us that because they had the key to security, and the whole Nigeria voted them in 2015, and I agree with that. And I'm saying, Mr. President, when you want to deal with a matter, you go to the head. So we will go to the government and ask this government to resign because they can no longer do anything in this country.
Okay, that led to an uproar in the Senate on that day. You could say that was a PDP member, Inaya Abaribe, but then even APC senators also stated their position. One of those positions came from the senator representing Ekiti North, Olubunmi Adetunbi. Let's quickly listen to it.
In response to this position, expressed shock. And it's all over the headlines. The reason why these two statements made headlines is because they are statements of fact. And it's the truth that this architecture is not working. And of course, the president is shocked. Why is it not working? What's the evidence of that? And where is Mr. President shocked? I just have information to share. The Fund for Peace and the Foreign Policy magazine in Nigeria published a report in 2019 and ranks Nigeria number 14 on the list of fragile states all over the world. Nigeria is ahead of Yemen, of Somalia, South Sudan, Central African Republic, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. Yes, those are the countries that are in worse situations of fragile states than Nigeria. Mr. President, in a normal circumstance, states like Nigeria should have the monopoly of the use of legitimate violence. Nigeria has lost that monopoly to warlords, paramilitary groups, armed gangs, terrorist groups, including ethnic and religious militias. In November last year, I was in Borno State with the Committee on Army on oversight. We could not travel beyond a few kilometers outside Maiduguri because we were told that Boko Haram has taken over the outskirts of Maiduguri. And Maiduguri was under a threat of invasion by Boko Haram. Nigeria is at war, and let nobody be deceived. Because what happened in Syria started like this. It was like skirmishes all over the place before the meltdown started. The time for rubber to meet the road has come, and we can no longer play ostrich and pretend that nothing is happening. You said it, and the president agreed. There is social tension in this country, and there is discord between the elite. There is no consensus. There is no elite consensus on the problem of the nation. Why? Ethnicity, religion, and corruption is not allowing the elite to come together to face the problem of this country, of which security is number one. Mr. President, I want to speak to facts. The African Leadership Center of King's College London published in 2008 a regional security report on West Africa. In that report, Nigeria accounted for 54% of recorded violent events in the whole of West Africa. And as we speak, Nigeria is the one that is shaping the trend and patterns of violent events in and fatalities in West Africa. Mr. President, there is a delegitimization of the Nigerian state by hostile, progressively violent non-state actors. And of the estimated 500 million illicit small arms that is circulating West Africa, Nigeria is holding 70%.
Okay, that was Senator Olumi Adetunbi representing Ekiti North. Well, the same thing also went down in the House of Representatives on that day. Let's quickly listen to a bit of what transpired in the House of Representatives.
New breed of soldiers to be deployed immediately, because some of them have overstayed in that place. They are tired of the war. They want to go back home. I believe somewhere, somehow, in the corridors of power, the president is not being told the truth of the situation of the Northeast. The service chiefs we have are not showing good example, and it's hard time we stop painting it. They have at least their usefulness. And I think if there's anybody who loves this nation, the best thing for them is to take a bow and go.
The tenure of the service chiefs, are you saying that by a fraction of time it has expired and is not renewable? Does the law say it is not renewable? So if the law says it's not renewable, so it cannot automatically kick in by operation of law that they must leave.
Automatically, whether their tenure has expired or not, they are completely outlived their usefulness, and they must go.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it.
Well, on Thursday, that is the 30th day in the month of January, President Muhammadu Buhari called a meeting of the service chiefs. We will talk about some of the things that were discussed at that meeting, because after that meeting, the National Security Advisor Babangida Moguno addressed journalists, and they called for the cooperation of states and local government, and they said they were aware of what is happening, and they will do something. They gave assurances. But then yesterday, another dimension to the issue of insecurity came up. Christian leaders across the country, the Christian Association of Nigeria, came out, took to the street, and protested what they call the killing of Christians and insecurity, rising insecurity in the country. Let me quickly quote the president of CAN. Our president should rise up and up his game. If the attack is not religious, don't let there be attacks on Christians again. The killing of the CAN chairman was because he was a Christian. He's talking about the event that happened in Adamawa now. They rejected ransom. The incarceration of Leah Sharibu was because she is a Christian and she refused to convert to Islam. Adeboye of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, we also read a report that instructed his members to also participate in this protest. And he was also part of that protest. They called their own prayer walk. That was what they called it. Let me quickly welcome my studio guest. I have with me in the studio this afternoon. I don't know if I should call him a chieftain of the APC. He is a chieftain of the APC. In fact, he has contested as governor in Ekiti State. Chief Roti Adebisi, you're welcome on the program.
Thank you very much.
I also have the public secretary of the PDP in Ondo State, Zadok Agito. You're welcome on the program.
Dimeji, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And also, my boy, Mr. Tosin Tegede, you're welcome on the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay. In the submission of, I believe you're listening to Adetun Bide, it represents your senatorial district. So I'm going to start from you, okay. North. In his submission, it gives some startling statistics, and he submitted that what is happening now. If you took time to listen to watch everything, said what is happening now is similar to what happened in Syria, and that there is a war in Nigeria. Would you agree with our position that this was how it started in Syria before it gets to what it is today?
Well, I'm totally in agreement with what my senator said in toto. Because when you look at the situation in Nigeria today, we are in a state of war. Unless we're deceiving ourselves. If Nigeria can be classified as...
The presidency does not seem to think so, because I was watching President Buhari's spokesperson, Femi Adesina, on TV saying that prior to 2015, the situation was more serious, was more grievous than this.
Well, we're expecting the situation to get better. Even if it was more serious then. We cannot deceive ourselves. Regardless of what political parties you belong to. This is beyond politics. We have to look at the security of everybody in this country. A few weeks ago, there was a hoopla about this Amotekun thing, because security, it should be local. If we stop taking care of our security from our homes, from our communities, from our states, we have a problem. And that is what is happening in the Northeast right now. The issue of calling for the resignation of the service
president.
Chiefs.
The president?
The president is you can call for it.
You think Abaribe took that too?
I mean, that's out of line, really. You know, but he has his...
What about the sack of the service chiefs? Because when the president met with them on Thursday, and the National Security Advisor came out, he said, when he was asked, he said, that was not even on the agenda. They didn't talk about the sack of the security chief, the service chiefs.
Well, I guess they have to... this thing is beyond the sack of the security chiefs. The wholesale architecture of the Nigerian security needs to be reviewed, really. Because the way it is, we are just deceiving ourselves here. The moment some people are against local vigilantes protecting us and all that. We have to change that scenario. And I'm glad they finally agree with the Amotekun thing that happened in the Southwest. Because when you look at the Southwest, the Amotekun thing was beyond political party. So we have to seriously look at ourselves. Why are we in the situation that we are in? Why are some people resisting state police? When you look at the number of policemen in Nigeria, for God's sake, 200 million people, and you have less than 400,000 policemen, half of them are protecting VIPs. Why can't we just do something? We copied everything from the United States of America except the security architecture. In the community policing, state policing, there's nothing wrong with it.
Even at the county level.
Even at the county level in the US, you have all those police. I mean, the layer of security in America is fantastic. You will see county police, you will see state police, you will see federal police, and you know, FBI is there. And you have CIA, you know, NDLA and all that. So why can't we do this? Who is afraid of the local policemen in Nigeria?
Part of the suggestions by the senators on that day was state police. But the deputy senate president raised some issues. He said there are fears that some people could use that to terrorize opponents and all of that.
Are they not misusing the federal police as it is? My governor in Ekiti State, in his first term, when we were going for re-election, he was tear gassed. And he was
by the police.
By the police, Dr. Kao defined me, and he was supposed to be the chief security officer of that state.
On paper.
So, on paper. So don't tell me. And you can see, even when you look at the police funding and all that, states spend more money on funding than the federal government. They're the one that provides all the vehicles for them. So what are we talking about?
Okay, let me turn to the PDP Popular Secretary. The call for President Buhari's resignation is a member of your party, the minority leader of the Senate. He said, when there is a problem, you go to the head. And he called out, called for President Buhari's resignation. And other senators also called for the sack of the service chief. Is that a right thing to do?
In a corporate enterprise, which I would assume Nigeria to be, the chief reporting officer, the chief executive officer takes the blame, and he also takes the credit. And I think the call by Senator Baribri is just in line, because you need to go to the person who is the chief, the CNC, the commander-in-chief, who is in charge of the army, the navy, the air force, the police in the country, and ask him to either sit up and take responsibility or back down and let someone else do the job. Because the simple reason is this, and when we keep, the gentleman beside me has said, the issues of insecurity in our country at the moment, you need to look at why is this particular period, why is it so terrible for Nigerians? It's in leadership. We've always had insurgencies. We've always had people reacting against government, people being...
If you say the leadership, the issue program was...
That's why I wanted to bring it back to, since 1999, you had a president, Olusegun Obasanjo. We were not as divided because the leadership of the country at that time did everything to assure Nigerians, even though we had security issues, to assure Nigerians that there's something to hope for. When Yar'Adua came into power, the same thing transpired. Yar'Adua is a northerner, but Nigerians still rallied because the leader showed them that he was willing to do what was most important, which is assuring Nigerians to believe in the Nigerian story. Same thing when Jonathan was there. Bad as people might have said his leadership was, the last 6 years or the last 5 years have shown that we need to thank God. Because we have a government that is not investing in the trust capital of Nigerians. It's not allowing Nigerians to feel that there's any sense of somebody in charge. People are killed on a daily basis. There's almost absolute silence from the presidency. And so Nigerians have begun to intrinsically react to this lack of leadership. That's why people are now saying, let the president go and sit down. Let the service chiefs go and sit down. Because those that should be in charge are not investing in the trust issue. The only reason why we are Nigerians or agree to be Nigerians is because we have a trust in the federal government. But when that trust becomes withered, when it begins to fade away, Nigerians begin to agitate. People begin to say, you can't secure us anymore, let me secure my home. You can't provide infrastructure, let me provide my own infrastructure. If we have service chiefs and soldiers are constantly being killed, and herdsmen terrorists take control of entire highways, and it's become difficult. It doesn't matter whether you are Muslim, you are Christian, you are from the north or the south, but there are people who are in charge of the country using terrorism as a tool to subdue the Nigerian system, to subdue the Nigerian people. And you have a commander-in-chief of the armed forces, who at best does not think that it is needful to address his nation or to show them that he's alive by moving around and taking charge and control. Nigerians were going to be more devastated, more unhappy living in Nigeria. We have never, in the 60-year history, apart from the period of the Civil War, been as divided, as insecure as we are now. People feel, my wife traveled, and I'm underscoring this as a human and a citizen of Nigeria. My wife had to travel to Ibadan on Saturday. The 3 days prior to Ibadan, to the trip, my anxiety level was up the roof. They were going to name my granddaughter. My anxiety level was in the roof. I was afraid. It was prayer after prayer. On the way I was calling her because I was afraid. It could happen to anybody. It doesn't matter your social status. That's where we are. 6 years ago, you take it for granted. You just pick your car and you go to Ibadan. You pick your car and you go anywhere. It wasn't our reality that some people will kidnap you, rape your wife, rape your children, rape your husband in the bush, and nothing is done. That underscores the failure of this government. And that's what Nigerians should look at. It doesn't matter whether you're a Muslim, it doesn't matter whether you're a Christian. The larger bulk of the unemployed youth in the north that the northern elites have created over a period of decades, whom they have not taken care of, who have now grown up, their majority system, who have now grown up to become adults, who still seek their own daily living, finding the north a place that is uninhabitable, begin to move to the south. Without skills, without ability to socially integrate, they become terrorists. And nobody's taking charge. And we see them, we say these are herdsmen, these are northerners, and then you have a northern president who keeps quiet, who does not feel that it is his duty to come and assure the people in the southwest that these are not my people, this is why this issue is happening. Those are the things that are underscoring this, and I support the move that if the president knows we did not elect him to come and sit down and be flying jets around and eating food, we elected him to make Nigeria a working system.
Okay, let me turn to Mr. Jagede. When President Muhammadu Buhari, he told the delegation from Niger State that it was, okay, let me quote him. I was taken aback by what is happening in the northwest and other parts of the country. During our campaigns, we knew about the Boko Haram. What is coming now is surprising. It is not ethnicity or religion. Rather, it is one evil plan against the country. Now, when you hear the president, your president, talk like this, saying that he is surprised by what is happening in Nigeria regarding security, do you get a feeling that maybe the president is not properly being briefed about what is happening in Nigeria?
Well, I think the president is going through the trauma that every leader in Nigeria goes through.
What trauma is that?
The trauma of surrounding themselves with those who are professional liars, who professionally lie to them, and they, for probably intellectual deficiencies, take those lies hook, line, and sinker. Now, let me read the Constitution. The Constitution, in the section 14 of the Constitution, a part of it says that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of the government. Now, when the head of the government says he's surprised that there is insecurity in the country he governs,
at the level, he's surprised at
the level of the insecurity in the country is governed, and his primary responsibility as the president should be security and welfare. So, like my brother was rightly saying, if a chief executive officer says, let's say for instance, the GM here, say I'm surprised at the level of news that is coming out from here. Should it be the GM in the next minute? Because his primary reason is to ensure that the information that comes out of this place is consumable. So if you don't go to him and say, these people speak bad English, they misrepresent information, I say, I'm surprised at this level. Then that means he is not in charge. And when you are not in charge of a duty that has been given to you, the most honorable thing to do is to back down. Now, it's important that we get that. I see, even when Senator Abaribe was trying to talk about it, I see that there is palpable fear in the nation. Everybody is afraid. Because he was afraid to even name the person he was talking about. He was talking about APC government. APC government. Even at that level, you see fear. That he didn't want to mention who he was talking about. And when a nation is governed by fear, then that Syria scenario is going to be the next thing. Because at one point, we will all get over our fear. And when we get over our fear, we'll get to a point where we'll begin to self-defense. And by the time we get to the point of self-defense, it will be difficult to take back. That's actually my fear. Like he said, my younger brother was getting married in Badon. I had to manage those who will come so that I can reduce my kind of prayer. It's not reasonable. We got to the middle of the program in Ibadan at about 3 p.m. and I stood up and said, yeah, everybody, come and be going. Why? Because I knew some people are traveling. And you are afraid to be on the road anytime from 6 p.m. So the best thing is to take off early. So we cannot run a nation like that because it's affecting our economy. It's affecting every facet of life.
Development and
every development, anything. So if a country must develop, the first thing and that's why the Constitution says that the primary responsibility of government is welfare and security. Primary. When the government succeed with those two, even if he fails to build roads, he has succeeded because he has done his primary responsibility. And it's like everybody has said, this is not about religion. I was engaging somebody on Facebook today, and he was talking about Muslim. I said, no, I'm not against Muslim. One of my best friends is a Muslim cleric. I've worked under a Muslim deputy governor. So this is not about Muslim, and these are good, great people that I can say I had the best of relationship with. So it's not about Muslim against Christian. It's about a deliberate attempt by some element to deliberately attack Christians with a view of causing crisis. And how does this affect the government? Now, we now see a government that the spokesperson to the president comes on air and says that these things are not happening. Things that we have seen every day.
Even coach said they were playing politics.
And say it's politics. You don't play politics with lives of people. I saw the video of the camp chairman that was killed. I couldn't open it.
Yeah, I couldn't.
I couldn't. So these are
the
issues we are looking at. It's not about.
What would you say? What is your take on the reaction of the presidency to Abaribe's call for Buhari's resignation? You know, Shehu, Garba Shehu said somebody like Abaribe should even be locked up because he signed for. He was the shorty for Nnamdi Kanu, and they allowed Nnamdi Kanu to escape, to flee the country.
I think people like Garba Shehu should not be allowed to speak in public. Because there is nothing wrong with calling for your employee to go and resign if he cannot do his job. I think the way we take those in government as if they are gods, that they cannot be wrong. No, it is democratic. For anybody, for any reason, if I don't get food on my table and I can't eat 3 square meal, I can wake up and say president should go and resign. It's normal.
Yeah.
Now, I don't, when a government begin to deal with issues by addressing personality, then something is wrong with those who are in charge.
Absolutely.
Issues raised is there is insecurity. Government response is inadequate. So if president cannot do more than he has done now,
Resign.
he should resign and let somebody who may have better options come on board. Now, if you want to respond to that, you don't tell me that
You're stupid.
I don't know how to wear clothes.
Okay, because of our time. A report by the United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says an estimated 27,000 people, including 37 aid workers, have been killed since the Boko Haram onslaught started in 2009. In 2018, 405 children were killed and another 105 abducted by Boko Haram. This is not to mention those who lost their lives in the hands of kidnappers and all of that. Only this morning, I don't know if you've read the Punch newspaper this morning, the paper reported that one of the 4 seminarians abducted in Kaduna by the Michael has been found there. Now, with all this gory news and statistics, you still hear persons, especially spokespersons in the presidency, say it is not as serious as the media makes it to look. Why do you think, Chief Adibi, why do you think the presidency continues to toe this path?
Well, we are in a nation where citizens are in prison. That's the way I look at it.
How so?
When you look at us, because of whatever political inclinations we might be, we shy away from the truth. Just because something is going wrong doesn't mean that the spokespersons of the government should not know how to address it. The man who called for the president's resignation, is his right to make any call. Any citizen can call for anything, but it is the duty of the spokesperson of the president to find a way to accommodate dissenting voices, dissenting views.
So you're saying they are not doing that?
They're not doing it. Because, yes, I'm a member of APC. That doesn't mean that I'm going to take everything they are doing in my party hook, line, and sinker. I won't. Because I'm a citizen of Nigeria first before I'm a member of APC. The problem we're facing is the problem of everybody. So we have to be very careful. When people say we are in a state of war in Nigeria, they're not lying. This thing did not start with Buhari's government. It has been
built up over the years.
What people are saying is, why are we not? I mean, when you look at the service chiefs, they have outlived their usefulness.
So you agree with your House of Representatives?
Let them go. You see, we should have what you call checks and balances in our different layers of government. The judiciary should know how to handle the legislative and the executive. So when the legislative arm of government is waking up to its responsibility now by doing their oversight function, by calling the these people have been there for more than 5 years. Maybe we need new ideas. I'm not saying that they have not done their best. They have done it. But maybe it's not enough. Maybe when somebody comes in that is new, he will rejiggle the whole thing. Are we actually taking care of our armed forces the way we should? Can you tell me the figure of the number of armed forces personnel that we have in the Northeast? Almost 60,000. What can 60,000 men do against Boko Haram? We need to go back into the security architecture of this country and look at it. Don't tell me 200,000 men are good enough to defend 200 million people. Don't tell me 400, even when you look at the police we have, is it up to the standards set by United Nations? No. If we are only going around with 370,000 policemen, and we have 160,000 Army, Navy, Air Force, what can they do? Some people are complaining that they are not doing their best. that they perform better when they go for external assignments.
Outside the country, peacekeeping missions.
It is true, because they are well taken care of there.
And their money gets to them.
The money gets to them.
No complaints.
I received a text message from a young man who is in the military a few days ago. The young man used to work for me in Akure. He's in the Boko Haram Sambisa forest now.
The theater of war.
And they're like circulating a message around that they are not being taken care of. Their salaries are not being paid on time. What is agreed to pay them, they don't pay them. If they agree to pay them 60,000, they will give them only 20-something thousand. Now tell me, how do you get the best from those men?
Somebody like that.
They're tired. They're stretched out. We have our military in about 35 states of the Federation. What can they do?
Now, when you have a situation where Christians and Christian leaders are now taken to the street, to protest, some people have said that this portends great, serious religious danger for the country. What is your take on that?
I don't think there's any religious danger. We're just blowing these things out of proportion, just like my brother said there. In Nigeria, can you tell me the difference between Christians and Muslims here? There's none. We are all facing the same problem here. What the Christian community has decided to do is, maybe you call it protest, or some you call it a prayer walk, whatever you want to call it. It's a wake-up call to the sitting government that changes need to be applied. Changes need to be made. You can criticize Buhari all you want to criticize him. He has done his best. But when you have people around him that are not doing enough, maybe they're not feeding him with the right information. Some people said, the reason why we don't know what they are discussing with the service chiefs or what they want to discuss is because of security purposes. Well, we want changes. That's what Nigerians want.
Okay. Immediately after that meeting that the president had with the service chiefs on Thursday, the National Security Advisor Babangida Moguno addressed the press. Let's quickly listen to excerpt of that address.
The major challenges facing the country are multidimensional in terms of security. Challenges are both internal, external, and defense related, as well as diplomatic, as well as economic, as well as in terms of food security. So you begin to appreciate the extent to which we need to work. Now, these major challenges, every ministry, department, and agency is aware of the aspects it has to deal with. And I'm sure yesterday, after the Federal Executive Council meeting, I'm sure you are aware of the First Minister that talked about his own area, that's the Minister of Works and Housing. Likewise, other ministries, departments, and agencies are working. The issue of security in the context of the 21st century is not an issue of just arms and ammunition or robbers and gangsters. It's a multiple situation. The canvas is very, very extensive, and we're looking at it in a comprehensive manner. The challenges all of us are aware of, and that is why, in a nutshell, I said there's a need for both government and the larger society to work together to find solutions to the current problems. No one is oblivious of the enormity of the problem at hand. Government is aware, and that is why we had this meeting at the highest level.
That was National Security Advisor Babangida Moguno briefing journalists after that meeting with the service chiefs. Now, as he said, that security is multi-pronged. Now, you have to know the cause and the solution and all that. For instance, let me, as on the third quarter of 2018, the unemployment rate in Nigeria was 23.1%. And last year, Nigeria's Labour Minister, Chris Ngige, said at a forum in Abuja that this year it could go up as high as 35.5%. Now, you agree with me that unemployment is a serious harbinger of insecurity, same thing as injustice, uneven distribution of wealth. Now, do you think that the approach that has been adopted by the Nigerian government before now has been result oriented? If not, do you think the Nigerian government needs a change of strategy?
I think one of the first things we must underscore is that prior to 2015, what was the average wealth value of an ordinary Nigerian, and what is the average wealth value of the Nigerian post-2015 election, particularly when the government devalued the Nigerian currency? Every Nigerian became poorer by that devaluation if your wealth is denominated in Naira. It meant that if you were poor, you became 2 times poorer because your needs are still the same, the demands on you are still the same, but the buying power of whatever you have has been lessened. And that's why I wish that government had not done anything in the first place, rather than for it to have brought us to this calamity. You are talking about unemployment, 20-something% unemployed Nigerians.
That was 2018. This is 2020.
That data cannot be correct, because when you factor unemployment, absolute unemployment, as in people not having a job, you also have to factor in people who are underemployed. The larger bulk of Nigerian youths are underemployed. They are not even engaged in positive things. They are not even engaged in capacity to make money. Look at the retirees. They've been made poorer because whatever value of their investments over the years have been halved at that point when it should have increased in value. That's why government keeps playing lip service, and a sensible government takes responsibility for its misactions. You devalue the currency, and let me paint a scenario. If their total worth was 1 million naira in 2015 or 2014, and your value was the currency by which your wealth was denominated was devalued by 100%. It meant that your worth as at that 2015 had been brought to approximately 500,000 naira. Because though you still have 1 million in terms of in number, the capacity of that 1 million to do any meaningful work has been halved. So every Nigerian became poorer. That's why the implication of that is what you are seeing in town now. Those who are poor in the north, particularly in the north, have realized that they need to go to economically stable, or in quotes, stable regions. And that's why the massive movement of northerners, young northerners, to the south. Because if they stay in the north will be on fire. Because they are poorer than they were before. They could scrap food on the street. Food is even almost no longer existent on the street. How many people can afford to eat and leave some extra like they used to? So it becomes a challenge nationally. And the cause of that challenge is the bad economic policy of this government. Every time you make a mistake, economic mistake, the reverberating effect is on the people that you are governing. They were trying to, they were pursuing those who have stolen money in the country. That is one of those things that every Nigerian must shame a government for. You know why? Most of those who had money prior to 2015 moved their funds outside the countries or denominated it in dollars. By the policy of government, they became richer at the end of the day. Because now most of their money were in dollars, were in foreign currencies. So when government devalued, whatever they had stolen, whatever they had looted, became doubled, while most Nigerians pay. The same thing this government keeps on doing. Its policies are oftentimes a misnomer, an error, a lack of understanding of the Nigerian society. People are groaning now. People are complaining that they don't have a job. It's simply because the government did not handle the economy properly. They were so focused on witch hunting that they were not focusing on the character of the Nigerian nation they were leading. If you want to approach a Nigerian, the first thing is that you must assure him that he should invest in his country. Once you don't assure him that he should invest in his country, he's going to move. That's why doctors get educated here. On the bill of the country, they move. Engineers, they move. Looters that have looted the money, that would ordinarily have spent that money in their home country, they move. Who suffers for it? It's the people. Government must realize that there must be a human face. And I want to go back to the response of the media handlers of the president. It underscores something that is most grievous in a democracy. That we now have a high potentate, democratically elected leader. Somebody whose the perception by those who work for him is that this is a God that must not be approached. He is unquestionable. That's why people will be afraid in a democracy. There are three arms of government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. I keep saying, any fool can be the head of the executive. Any retard can be the head of the legislature. But in the judiciary, maximum competence is demanded for you to head the judiciary. It's the only arm of government where you must have passed through and have attained the highest level of academic excellence and professional excellence. We now have a system where somebody that heads that arm of government is not even verifiably competent to head it. Somebody that heads the legislature has been, one way or the other, made to emerge so that Baba can have his free way. And that's what Nigerians should complain, because it is a democracy. I keep saying, we are all the same. The president to the poorest of Nigerians, we were born the same way. We have the same value and status in this country. We have elected them only for a period of time, maximum 8 years, in 2 tranches of 4 years. After those 8 years, most times these people will come back to the society and start complaining with us. But within the 8 years they are there, we feed him. He's not being fed by Nigerians on the effort or work he's doing. We provide his medical services, including the pants an executive president wears. Nigerians buy it. So nobody can, please let me nobody can say that Nigerians should not complain, or any Nigerian that then thinks that insulting fellow Nigerians to please the president of the country is democratically acceptable. When they leave that job, they will come back to the same society to be with us, and it will be difficult for them to integrate again.
Okay, let me turn to Mr. Jekede. Would you suggest a change in strategy?
Definitely. Now, let me give you also an instance. The present policing strategy we are using is what we inherited from the colonial masters.
1946.
Now, it's a strategy that seeks to protect the institution.
The lead.
The institutions.
Okay.
That is why you will see 200 policemen in Ondo State Government House in Akure. And you go to a village that has 1,000 citizens and there is no police post. Because the intention of the structure, the strategy, is to police and secure the institutions and the figures that represent those institutions. That's why you see a senator, a House of Rep member, going in a convoy of about 4-6 security men, and you have a village that has about 200-300 citizens living there, don't have a police post. Those that have police posts don't have more than 2 policemen. Those that have 2 policemen does not have firearm to protect the citizens. Now, if you need to secure Nigeria, the narrative must change. You must change from institution policing to policing the citizen. Now, when you police the citizen, the governor does not need police.
It's secure.
It's secured. But because you refuse to police the citizen, now you situate 200 policemen in the government house to protect just one family.
Yes.
The governor and his family. Now, I'll let me give you an institution. I was in Kenya in their central business district last year, and my host who I was working with, somebody passed us and he said, "That's our president." He walked on the foot past us. And he said, "That's our president." I said, "It's impossible." He said, "That's our president." Going to his office. When I came back, I was in Abuja the following week. I was on Azu Drive. The president was going to drive through that drive. I was waiting by the road for a taxi. The policeman said I should go back to where I'm coming from because the president wants to pass. These are both African countries. There is terrorism in Kenya. There is terrorism in Nigeria. So what is the difference between the Kenyan president that walks on foot without security within his people, and a Nigerian president that you must not stand on the street if he's driving by. The difference is this policing strategy. Why some people are policing the citizen, Nigerians, we are in the business of policing the institution. And that is why you need about 7 gates before you can enter House Rock. 7 gates. And when you get to South Africa, when you get to the US, you can take picture in the front of the government house at night.
You can even go for excursion in the east wing of the White House.
Of the White House.
People go there
at night. I'm not saying in the morning. I was in South Africa, and at night I was there. A lot of us taking picture within the government house that you just see the door like this. You can go and knock the door. And the presidents are not killed because people concentrate on policing the citizens, not the institutions. This kind that if you operate this method in the next 100 years,
it will not work.
It will not work because the citizens don't even trust the police. We see them against us. If you tell a policeman something, the next day somebody come to knock your door because the information has gotten to the enemy. So I would rather give my information to an Amateku man who I know is Babalawo. Is another there. Is another there very close to my house.
Absolutely.
So we are suffering the same thing. So if I give him my information, if he leaks my information, I go and knock his head tomorrow. But if I give an information to a policeman and the armed robber came today and say you are the one reporting us, we have come to flog you. So these are issues that until we solve it, we won't go forward.
Okay, because of our time, beyond policing, Chief Adebisi, what solve it or solution would you recommend to Nigerian government on this issue of insecurity?
Well, we need to go back to the basics. Like all the speakers have spoken here, it's not about political parties or who is the head of the government. We need to go back and do massive restructuring of every institution. Just like my brother just said, how can we have a police department that was set up to protect institutions and not the citizens? So if we are sincere about ourselves, these issues will address the issue of unemployment, underemployment and all that. We have to go back and be honest. If we still believe in one Nigeria.
Okay, because of our time, Zadok, we mentioned unemployment. What about a strategy that ensures that jobs are created for the people so that people can be taken off the street?
There are no one solution solves all scenarios for Nigeria that can be painted. But one of the things I know that builds a nation is unity. On our coat of arms, you have the following words. It says, unity and faith, peace and progress. It is the unity of Nigerians under common leadership that is purposeful, that generates faith in the Nigerian entity. Because Nigeria does not exist in principle beyond our agreement that we are Nigerians. And it is our faith in that country that brings peace and progress. Most of those people you see as kidnappers, terrorists, have lost faith in the country. That's why nobody is born that will willingly say, I want to end up as a terrorist. But they've lost faith. They've lost faith in the country, and that's why we are not progressing. You and I are losing faith in the country because you power your own house with your own generator. Everybody has lost faith in the country. The purpose of leadership is to unite us and to show clear leadership. I hope that one day we will get a president that will spend at least a month visiting every state, assuring people, speaking their language, encouraging them, showing them that I truly want to solve this problem. And that kind of person will galvanize those who are behind us to believe that, yes, let's make this Nigeria work. Without that, our grandchildren will still have the same stories, the same reality.
Mr. Tosin Jagere, thank you very much for coming on to this edition of the Roundtable. Thank you very much. Chief Adebisi, thank you very much for coming. And Mr. Zadok Agitoye, thank you very much. This is where we draw the curtain on to this edition of the Roundtable. My name is Dimeji Daniels. Thank you for listening. Good afternoon.
8.9 FM.